Sometimes I talk with him about book distribution. I remember once Gopa Vrindapal, he wanted to organize book distribution in a systematic way and train the men and women to conduct themselves in a particular way. And so he was in Vrindavan and he was pushing me, let's go and see Prabhupada and let's talk to him about it. And I was a little reluctant. And for some reason I didn't want to do it. And not that I didn't want to go and talk to Prabhupada, I'd take any excuse to go there. But I put him off, and then I heard that Prabhupada was going to cook that day. So I decided I'm going to go down there, invited or not, witness Prabhupada cooking. So I shaved up and got all clean and went down. And Prabhupada was taking massage, and he said, "So why have you come? You have some question?" I said, "Well, Prabhupada, I heard that you were going to cook. So I just wanted to come and help you cook or watch you cook," and I thought that would be a very enlivening experience. He said, "No, they're cooking nicely," he said. "I am a sannyasi, I can cook with wood," he said. And he started to preach to me about what it means to be a sannyasi, to be independent and so forth. He meant I could live in the forest and be independent of all this. They're making a nice arrangement, I'm accepting it. And then, I guess maybe Gopa Vrindapal heard I had gone to see Prabhupada, and so he came in. Then he brought it up. So I thought, well, we're here, let's see what he says. And he presented his idea, and Prabhupada, while appreciating it very much, his sincerity and his concern for making preaching very nice, he said it is a little artificial. And then I think Gopa Vrindapal brought up something about the Tamal Krishna Maharaj had organized along these lines by making some kind of quota system. That a certain amount books should be sold or money collected, and it should be organized in that way. So I guess he was again pushing that there must be some place for this. Then Prabhupada said, that is Tamal Krishna Maharaj's concoction. And I think he went on to say that still there may be some place for that to inspire the devotees, but his main point at the time was that preaching was a spontaneous affair. And he referred to me, he said, just like our Tripurari Maharaj, Krishna is giving him so many things to say within his heart, and he's saying them, and books are selling. So each devotee will get inspiration from within their heart, and this way Krishna consciousness will be spread. And really that's the way Prabhupada spread Krishna consciousness. By wherever he saw Krishna manifesting and leading, even if it was in the hearts of his own devotees, then he went in that direction. He considered that they're chanting sincerely and practicing, so something must be coming. So when he saw a certain inspired side of his disciples even, they had some idea, they wanted to do something, then he would say, yeah, we'll start a temple over there. Something that was all planned out, and he had a notebook that he was always referring to. But Krishna was leading, and sometimes leading in the hearts of even his disciples. So he was so attentive to that. This idea of Mahabhagavad, of course, that we'll see Krishna everywhere, in everything. Beginning devotees, they'll think that I'm a devotee, everyone's a demon. And the higher devotee will think, I'm a demon, everyone's a devotee. I'm a servant.
Sometimes Prabhupada would come over when I would paint and give other instructions. He'd squat in that typical Indian way and give instructions like make the palms pink, or make something else some other way. He'd come and kneel and give instructions. Or sometimes he would just come by and look, and I would just ask him philosophical questions. Like, for example, he'd be lecturing about how the goddess of fortune was born out of the churning of the milk ocean. Now, that's pretty far out. So I'd see him standing there behind me as I was painting, and I'd just turn around and say, how could that have happened? So Prabhupada said, you should just think, all right, I don't understand something now. He explained it a little bit, but still it's beyond the mind. So he said, you should just think, all right, I don't understand now, but later on the understanding will come.
Then, on another occasion, Prabhupada asked Satsvarupa Maharaj to go and get Tamal Krishna to come to the room. And I was just coming back from downtown. It was in the evening. And I was coming to give my report. So I was going to Prabhupada's room. I saw Srila Maharaj coming down, and he said, "Have you seen Tamal Krishna Goswami?" I said, "No, I just came back from downtown." I said, I think he must be in his room. So he said, "Okay." So he went over to his room. And I went up to Prabhupada's room, and when I opened the door, I saw that there was about 4 life members in the room with Prabhupada. So Prabhupada saw me, and he said, "Come in, sit down." I said, "Well, you're busy now, Prabhupada, with these men. I'll come back later." He said, "No, come in and sit down." So I said, "Oh boy, all right." I went inside, I went over to the corner, and I sat down. So then Tamal Krishna opened the door, and he saw the men, and Prabhupada said, "You, come in, sit down." And he came in, and he sat down. And the 2 of us are sitting there, and for the next half hour or so, Prabhupada just kept speaking to these Indian gentlemen. Didn't say a word to us. Preaching. And then they all, thanked Prabhupada, offered obeisances, got up and walked out. So when they left, Prabhupada said to us, "If you do not come here in the evening and listen to me preach to these gentlemen, then how will you learn how to preach? You must come and sit here and listen to me preach so that you learn the art of how to explain this philosophy to such important and wealthy men in the community." So here again, Prabhupada was teaching, he was training everything. It was just constant education. And he saw that we were going to be his leaders on some level or another. And therefore, he wanted us to learn.
Prabhupada's philosophy came to us in waves because he would speak every morning and every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday evenings. And then we would meet him on so many other occasions. Particularly after I began painting in his quarters, there was lots of interaction. And we heard not only from him instructions, but the other devotees. We would all repeat him as soon as we heard an instruction. But because we were dull, even we would hear so many things, they registered in their own time. Once I heard from the devotees that we couldn't lick stamps or lick envelopes. And so I asked Prabhupada, I heard this, and why is that? Why do you say that the mouth is a dirty place? So he said, well, so many things are always coming and going. It's one of the 9 gates of the body, and so it's considered a dirty place. Another time I used to clean the altar room before I started painting. And in April, Prabhupada had Govindadasi and Gorsundar introduce the second ISKCON Artik. First they started in San Francisco, which was simply a large tray with a small Jewish votive candle with the Hebrew letters still on the glass. So the first person on the line, there was a line of devotees in front of the Sankirtan painting, not Sankirtan, but the Panchatattva, standing, with Lord Chaitanya and his 4 associates. That was on the side altar. And Prabhupada would sit on his dais in the front. So the devotees would take turns offering the arti, 1 minute each devotee, and pass it on to the next one in line. Then after the program, somebody brought the candle up to the altar room, and I would clean the altar room. So one day the candle was all the way down at the bottom, and I shook it, and I put a piece of paper over it, I put my hand over it, I waved over it, and the candle wouldn't go out. So Prabhupada was standing by the candle, and he said, why don't you blow on it? So I said, well, I thought we're not supposed to blow on anything. So he said, when there's no other alternative, then it's all right. Then I kept cleaning, and my leg brushed against these tall gladiola plants that he had around his oval altar. And I turned to him and said, I just touched the plant with my leg. Should I offer obeisances? Because it was the plants of the altar. And he said, yes.
Prabhupada didn't teach me, now you say this, now you say that, or sell in this way. Once I told Prabhupada, the devotees are asking me how to sell the books. What is the technique? And he said, what do you tell them? I said, I tell them, Prabhupada, that you have to follow all the principles very, very strictly, and read and chant. And he said, yes, this is our only technique. In other words, preaching is the overflow, really, of the culture. When you culture, then nicely it overflows, and then you have something to say and feel inspired. So no, he never gave me any kind of advice in that way, but from internal inspiration, from wanting to please him, then I think he used me in his service, in that particular service, and for preaching and book distribution.